Hi, my name is Lynn Trong. I'm an artist, and today I'm going to show you the art of Suminagashi, which translates into floating ink in Japanese. And we'll be using Sumi brushes that are also used for calligraphy with Sumi ink. And over here we'll also have tools that we'll be using to manipulate the ink on the surface of the water. And over here we have surfactant, which is Kodak PhotoFlow. A surfactant lowers the surface tension of water to allow the inks to flow on the surface. And today I'll be showing you 7 different techniques that you can do. The first step is to pour water into the vat. I like to pour about a nail's worth of water in there, about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch. I'm going to let the water settle a little bit, and then take a strip of paper, either newspaper or construction paper works. And what we're going to do first is skim the vat to make sure there's no dust particles hanging on the surface. Now we're ready to start. We want to hold the brush in our hand and not have any ink dripping from it. And in the left hand, I'm going to use a Sumi brush, which is soap and water. And just like with dishes, it's going to cut through the grease or the ink and create that negative space. We're going to hold the brushes vertical, and we're just going to dip just the very tip of the brush onto the surface of the water. We're not really going to dip underneath it. So I'm going to touch the surface, and then initially you'll see just a circle, and then we'll alternate brushes and create concentric circles. When you feel like you have enough ink in your vat, you can put your brushes down. And then we can start with different techniques to move the ink around. So the first technique is blowing. So you can just use your breath to very lightly blow on the surface of the water to create jagged lines. Or use a fan. The second technique is to use a straw for more directional blowing. I like to go from corner to corner to move the ink around the vat. The third technique is to use some sort of stylus. I like to use a T-pin. And you can use a stylus to drag it through the ink. And with pins, the ink will just spiral off of it. Or you can use something with a lot finer of an end. I use my cat's whiskers that I find lying around. They're really nice because they're thick at one end and really fine at the other. And with this, the ink won't spiral off of it, but it will create more fine lines. The fifth technique is I use a toothbrush, and this is actually from Western marbling, where they use a whisk to get the ink on the surface of the vat. And what I'll do is I'm going to dip it in my soap water solution, and then with my finger on the brush, I'm just going to flick it onto the surface to kind of create these little bubbles in the design. The last 2 techniques are different additives that I like to add to my inks. So the first one is linseed oil, or you can really use any type of oil. And the last technique I'll show you today is using isopropyl alcohol, which you can add to your inks, or you can just use on its own. So for this technique, it's helpful to have a solid bubble of color. And as a solvent, isopropyl alcohol does a really interesting chemical reaction where it's pushing the ink away. And at this point, you can take a print, and today we're going to print on both paper and silk. For the first print, we're going to print on Japanese paper. So taking a print is a little bit like taking a picture. You want to sit back and observe, watch the colors kind of blend into each other, move around, and then once you're ready to capture a moment, you pick up your piece of paper, hold it on either side, both ends, and then bow it slightly in the middle, and then let it touch the surface of the water and drop it down, the sides down slowly. You may get a few air bubbles in your piece. And then, once the color has adhered, you can pick up the paper from the vat, and here's your print. For the second print, we're going to be printing on silk. Once you feel like you're ready to print, pick up your piece of silk, and it helps if you have a friend nearby to help you. And we're going to bow the center in and touch the surface of the water, and then gently and slowly release the ends. And then once it's absorbed all the ink, you have your print. Suminagashi is great because there's not that many materials involved in it. Everything is available online. It's something easy that you can do as a family at home from ages 5 to 80. A lot of people enjoy doing it, and it's so immediately gratifying to make a print. I have a fashion background, and I've just tried every type of surface design, whether it's screen printing, block printing, silk painting. Marbling was just another thing that I tried, and something about the experience of Suminagashi, the fact that it was very simplistic, just inks on water, just freed me up immediately. And I do it as a form of meditation all the time, where I don't even print on anything. I just sit there with the vat and just focus on what's right there in front of me. Thanks so much for crafting with us today. I hope you learned a lot about Suminagashi and continue doing it at home.